So today we're going to learn how to play Ong Namo Gurudev Namo. It's a really beautiful song, very different to Krishna Dasa's style, but I really like it. And again, it's really simple. It's just consists of 4 chords. So again, nothing you need to know. Let's get right to it and learn how to play it. So, Ong Namo Gurudev Namo. It's made up of 4 different chords, and the chords are C major, and that consists of G, C, and E. Then we have A minor, and that consists of A, C, and E. Then we have G major, and that consists of G, B, and D. And then we have F. So F major consists of the notes F, A, and C. And I play it like this, in this form, but then I also invert it. So I take the bottom F and I play it 1 octave higher. Still the same chord, but it's just a different order. So I use both of them. I use F, A, C, and I use A, C, F. And those are your 4 chords. Now each, or I should say the song, consists of 2 chord progressions. And within each chord progression, there are 2 melodies. So the first chord progression goes like this. It goes C to A minor to F to C. So when you're playing this chord progression, what I'd recommend is that, although you would have seen that I didn't actually do that, what I recommend is to get into the habit of playing the C with your middle finger. Because what that allows you to do, it allows you to change very smoothly down to the F. Because this finger here is already in place. And then you come back up to the C. And so what you'll find is that each chord is held for a count of 4. And that the lyrics, so Ong Namo Gurudev Namo, they come in immediately, so there's no break. So it goes like this, it goes Ong Namo Gurudev Namo. And then what you'll find is that in case you don't have a sort of a natural feel for it, that the changing of the chords, so it goes Ong Na Mo on the Mo, Guru Dev on the Dev, Na Mo on the Mo. So again, I'll play it through. Ong Namo Gurudev Namo. So the second part, or the second melody within this chord progression, is simply a little bit higher towards the end, and it goes like this. The interesting thing about this part is that although the high Gurudev, you play F major, so F, A, C, what you're really singing is this G up here, Gurudev. And the interesting thing about that is that, well, the G, there's no G in F major, so there's F, A, C, there's no G. And what that basically does, just in case, just out of interest, it just creates a sort of suspended feel where it sort of feels like the whole thing's a bit, I don't know, edgy or shaking or a little bit of tension, you could say. And that really just creates a feel. So some people might find it hard at the beginning to sing the G when playing the F, but just repeat it over and over again and you'll get it. You can even just chuck the G in there and then sing the G while you're playing F major. Gurudev. Just for practice. And that's basically the first part. So let's have a look at the second progression of this song. The progression goes like this. It goes C to F, back to C, and then back to G. So C, F, C, G. Again, each chord is played for a count of 4. And I'll just play it through for you just so you get a feel. So it goes Gurudev, Gurudev Namo. Gurudev, Gurudev Namo. Gurudev, Guru, and so on. So the words are Gurudev, Gurudev Namo. And then there's a low part which follows the same progression. I'll explain both parts, but I'll just give an example. So it goes Gurudev, Gurudev Namo. Gurudev, Gurudev Namo. And so on. So they both follow the same chord progression. There's a couple of things to note with this part. It's probably each part, each progression and each melody, so progression 1 and progression 2, I'd say they're equally easy or equally hard. What is difficult at the beginning, or what I found difficult, is changing from the first progression to the second progression. Just because it feels a little bit rushed. So I'll give you an example, I'll explain that. Why it feels a little bit rushed? Well, let's take a step back. First of all, for the second progression, you have to start singing on the third beat. So the Guru Dev, the Dev falls onto the third beat. So technically, yes, you are singing slightly before the third beat, but it is important to make the Dev fall on the third beat. What does that mean practically? Practically that means that you have 2 beats of space before you start singing. So I'll give you an example. It goes like this. 1, 2, Guru Dev, so the Dev falls on the third beat. 1, 2, Guru Dev, Guru Dev Namo. 1, 2, Guru Dev, Guru Dev Namo. 1, 2, and so on. So you've got that space, that 1, 2, before you start singing. And that is really important because when you look at the first progression, it finishes on the 1, 2. What does that mean practically? I'll show you. It goes like this. Ong Namo Gurudev Namo. So it finishes, the Namo finishes on those first 2 beats. Namo. Now 1, 2. And that's really important because what is effectively happening is that the first progression is mixing with the second progression, but they mix in such a way that they sit really nicely next to each other. The first progression takes up the first 2 beats, and then the second progression comes in from beats 3 and 4. So they fit together very nicely. What that means when you're playing is that sometimes, particularly at the beginning, it can feel a little bit rushed. So you feel like, whoa, I'm already going from the first progression straight into the second progression. And yes, you are. And eventually it just becomes natural. So, I'm just going to play the first progression and the second progression through just so you get an idea. Ong Namo Gurudev Namo. 1, 2, Gurudev, Gurudev Namo. you can see the two parts sitting next to each other and the way they fit together. The last part to this song, which is actually quite cool and really makes the song, in my opinion, is the fact that you can sort of have a call and response within the call and response. What does that mean? Good question. Well, when I'm singing Gurudev Gurudev Namo, you'll notice that there's a lot of space before the next Gurudev Gurudev Namo comes along. So within that space, I can actually sing another Gurudev Gurudev Namo. And I can do that when the audience is responding. So it's going to be a little bit hard to demonstrate, but basically, if the audience responds Gurudev Gurudev Namo, I can respond Gurudev Gurudev Namo within their response. So just as their response follows, I sing again. And it's a real nice sort of come and go. So it goes Gurudev Gurudev Namo, Gurudev Gurudev Namo. They sing Gurudev Gurudev Namo, I sing Gurudev Gurudev Namo. Or you can just sing the whole 4 Gurudev's Namos by yourself, and then that sort of just adds a little bit more something to the whole song. So Gurudev Gurudev Namo, Gurudev Gurudev Namo, Gurudev Gurudev Namo, Gurudev Gurudev Namo. Hopefully that's not too confusing. I hope you understand what I mean there. You can do the same for the low part. So it goes Gurudev Gurudev Namo, Namo Namo Namo, Gurudev Gurudev Namo, Namo Namo Namo. So again, it's up to you whether you sing that as a whole or you just respond with the Namo 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 when the audience is singing their response. So again, I hope that made sense. It can be a little confusing, but when it works out, it's really, really beautiful. So that's pretty much it for that kirtan. A little bit more complex in some areas, but if you practice and just play along with Snatam Kaur, then you'll have no problem at all. So I hope this made sense, and we will see you in the next video.